Welcome, class. This week we discuss poetry, which is probably one of the most difficult areas of a literature course because poetry always seems to be part of it, but it's something that many students shy away from. So I'm going to try to make it as delicate as possible. For instance, let's just check out this quote by Marianne Moore, who is a poet. In a poem, the word should be as pleasing to the ear as the meaning is to the mind. So a poem really should speak to us. It should speak to us in some way, shape, or form. So I have a question for you. This is the human brain. It's divided into two parts. Each half has its own function. Now I ask you, we all know that the left brain has logic and reality. The right brain is all about the creativity and emotions. So my question is, when you are looking at the big puffy clouds, and here are some big puffy clouds, your right brain tells you, hey, that one looks like a bunny. Your left brain tells you, it's a cloud, stupid. So my question is, which half do you use when you're studying poetry? Well, here's a few hints. Poetry requires creativity, it requires emotion, it requires an artistic quality, and it requires logic. Do you get the picture here? I hope you realize by providing you all those hints, that you start to realize that the survey says both. For the left brain, you recognize certain devices used within a poem that will give the left brain something to concentrate on. So we'll start with sound devices. That's something that rhyme is a perfect example, the repetition of sounds, hat, cat, brat, fat, mat, sat. And here's a perfect example of rhyme. Shel Silverstein is an excellent poet. He wrote My beard grows to my toes. I never wears no clothes. I wash my hair around my bear, and down the road I goes. Obviously, all those words, the end words, are rhyming, which is typical of a poem. Now, alliteration is a little bit different. It's the repetition of the initial letter or sound in two or more words in a line. Sometimes these are called tongue twisters, but here's a perfect example. How much dew would a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop did drop dew? Obviously, the D's are repeating, the DRs are repeating sometimes. So the repetition is the letter D, the sound of D. Now, here's what it looks like in a poem. This is a poem, She Walks in Beauty. And here we go. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. The alliteration is right there in that second line, cloudless climes. And all that's the best of dark and bright. Starry skies, of course, I forgot, starry skies is also the alliteration, the sound. And all that's the best of dark and bright. Meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. So the final alliteration is day, the D in day, and the D in denies. So typically the first sounds. Okay, the next element is onomatopoeia, which is kind of the funny type of element in poetry, and it's really words that spell out sounds, words that sound like what they mean. So our example is growl, hiss, pop, boom, crack, and pfft. So those are all words that really sound like what they mean, and the element is called onomatopoeia. So let's see what this particular element looks like in a poem. Again, another one by Shel Silverstein. It's called Noise Day. Let's have one day for girls and boysies when you can make the grandest noisies. Screech, scream, holler and yell, buzz a buzzer, clang a bell, sneeze, hiccup, whistle, shout, laugh until your lungs wear out, toot a whistle, kick a can, bang a spoon against a pan, sing, yodel, bellow, hum, blow a horn, beat a drum, rattle a window, slam a door, scrape a rake across the floor. And as you can see, everything that's in red is typically the sound is also the word. And there's probably others, sneeze, hiccup, and whistle. Okay? All right, next one is repetition. Now, repetition is using the same word or phrase throughout a poem. And this needs to be done sparingly because otherwise, like this little photo says here, you sound like a broken record. Too much is too much. Here's a poem by Chris Carey. Time to spend, time to mend, time to hate, time to wait. Time is the essence, time is the key. Time will tell us what will be. Time is the enemy, time is the proof. Time will eventually show us the truth. Time is a mystery, time is a measure. Time for us is valued treasure. Time to spend, time to mend, time to cry, time to die. So, what is the repeated key word or phrase? Dun 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 dun. I think it's probably time. Time and time and time. Fairly obvious, right? So, the next element is simile, and this is a comparison between two unrelated things. It always uses the word like or as. So here's the example. Joe is as hungry as a bear. So we're comparing Joe's hunger to a bear. In the morning, Ray is like an angry lion. So we're comparing Ray to an angry lion. And the only reason it's a simile is because the word like and the word as is used in the sentence. So let's see what this looks like in Archibald MacLeish's poem. A poem should be as palatable and muted as a globed fruit. So we're comparing a poem to be muted as comparing it to a globed fruit. Silent as the sleeve-worn stone, and again comparing it to a sleeve-worn stone of casement ledges where the moss has grown. A poem should be as wordless as the flight of birds. So this first simile is here, the second simile, and then the third simile. Again, comparing one thing to another, really have nothing really in common, but we're forcing the comparison to be made, and we're using the word as or like. Now, the other comparison is the metaphor. Again, comparing two things that are not related in any way, shape, or form, but it's done without the word as or like. So Lenny is a snake, so we're comparing Lenny to a snake. Ginny is a mouse. When it comes standing up for herself, we're comparing Ginny to the mouse. So, again, the difference between a simile and a metaphor is that the simile requires like or as to be included in the comparison, and the metaphor requires that neither be used. All right, so now we have hyperbole, and this is an exaggeration for the sake of emphasis. And in fact, this was a clue in last night's Jeopardy. What is the poetic element that uses exaggeration, and against its hyperbole? So here's two perfect examples of this. I may sweat to death. Now there's no way you're going to die from sweating, okay? But we're exaggerating that the sweat is going to be so much for you that you're going to get close to death. The next one, the blood bank needs a river of blood. That's definitely exaggeration. A whole river of blood. First of all, that is not quite exactly the way we collect blood, right? It goes against every rule possible. Okay. Personification is the next element, and this element gives human characteristics to inanimate objects, ideas, or animals. And here's a perfect example. The sun stretched its lazy fingers over the valley. Now we know that the sun does not have fingers, and there's no way the sun can stretch anything over the valley, but it can stretch its rays. And its rays, we're comparing the rays, we're giving the rays personification and making them actually fingers that can move and can extend themselves over the valley. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is personification. Symbol is a word or image that signifies something other than what is literally represented. Dark or black images in poems are often used to symbolize death. So images, we're talking that it's going to mean something other than what we're used to. Light or white images are also used to symbolize life. Okay, again, using the image to symbolize something that we don't normally use words for. Okay. Imagery is the next one, and that's imagery is you use words to create pictures excuse me, in a reader's mind, and you can do that in a lot of ways. And of course, free verse, poetry that follows no rules, just about anything goes. You just put lines together and hope for the best. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that it doesn't follow traditional conventions such as punctuation, capitalization, rhyme scheme, rhythm, and meter. So it does have some sort of formatting. Okay, it's not a paragraph. Okay, it's formatted in it looks like a poem with the short lines and the longer lines, but it has no rhyme, it has no rhythm, and it has no meter. It's free verse. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the presentation for this week. I hope that you have fun creating your own poetry. You'll be doing two poems, one about love and another one about the environment. Have fun this week.